What's up, Charleston Crafted family? Today we're going to show you how we rebuilt our railing because this one was rotten. Our back stairs were completely rotten out on this panel, including all the spindles, and we rebuilt it so it would look like this. This is our brand new railing that we built from scratch, and we're going to show you how we did it. So before we even get started, I gotta show you my HGTV moment. Bang! Man, usually I don't actually do the HGTV because it makes a huge mess, but I really felt like this was a good opportunity to do it. Let's take a look at it again here in slow motion. Bang! Look at all that rotten wood go flying. That is exactly why you only do this if somebody else is cleaning up after you. But it did feel cool. Alright, so next I came around with the blunt end of an axe and banged out each of these balusters, spindles, whatever you want to call them. And these popped out really easy because everything was rotten completely. And then I smacked it with the back of the axe on top of the handrail and this thing just exploded. Everything was just trash. This was really fun to do. I don't usually get to do like a lot of demolition, like I said, and it was fun to do, but it created a huge mess. As you can see here, everything was completely rotted out. Every time I hit it, it all exploded. There is rotten wood everywhere. This took a long time to clean up, but this had to be replaced. So let's do that. So basically, I was recreating the railing that was already there, so we took all the measurements from that. We cut down all of the spindles from 2x2s and got those prepped up, attached them to a 2x4 on one side, and then attached them to a 2x4 on the other side. These had a 3.5 inch space in between them, so a 2x4 was a perfect spacer. We used wood glue on the end of each one and screwed through the 2x4 to attach it. All these spindles are super sturdy and in place, and they all held together. After it was all done, we added caulk around the seams. Caulk is very important because the reason that rot happens is because wood gets too wet. Even though this is treated, if wood gets in those little cracks and sits, it will eventually rot out. So it was important to add outdoor caulk and keep them lasting a lot longer. Next, we used our paint sprayer to paint this railing white. This is the same white that we have everywhere else. This was a little tricky. I thought this was going to be easy spraying all of those spindles, but getting in those tight angles and painting all four sides of those and everything was harder than I expected, but eventually got it done. A lot of overspray underneath, but that's okay. Once it was all painted and dried, it was ready to install. Carried it up the stairs and fit it into place. There were 3 sections of 2x4s cut off that this rested onto that I was going to paint after, but just carried this thing up and set it into place on top of those, got everything ready, and then hammered it into place. We used nails here in case we ever have to replace it or anything like that again, but it was done. And look at that, it looks just like the old ones, except not rotten. Wasn't too hard to do this, but we still weren't finished. Now we had to add the railing caps on top. As you can see, this is the old one. It's all shredded, rotten, nails are popping out. These were in really bad condition, so we needed to not only put a new one on the section we just built, but we also decided to replace all the old ones on our entire stair railing. This oversized trim puller was a great use for this. Again, this is the same thing that I used when we were taking off the caps and adding solar post caps on our front stairs, which you can see in this video here. This was really easy. This wide base on this trim puller makes it easy to get under there, tapping it into place with a mallet, and then we just pulled those caps off. We did this on all of the parts and got them all off there. Then, since we didn't want this happening again, we decided to use PVC. We got a giant sheet of 1/2 inch PVC from Home Depot and ripped that down to the size of our railings. This was a little tough to do on the table saw, especially at first, because as you can see, it bends, it's pretty wobbly, but this was the easiest way to cut it down into sections that we needed. I also didn't like the extremely sharp corners on that PVC, couldn't really sand them down. So we ran them through our router table and gave them a nice little rounded edge on the tops. After each one was painted, we slid it into place. These fit perfectly, and then we just nailed them into place all the way up. We used a number of nails at different angles all the way up and across each handrail. These are very solidly in place, and then we caulked them into place to keep them there. We had to do some touch-ups on those nail holes and paint them, but that was it. Look at how this looks now. It looks great. Get more details on our blog at charlestoncrafted.com.